Media Night Radio welcomes to the airwaves actor-producer Mark Pellegrino. Mark is an actor and producer known for his compelling performances in both television and film. Born on April 9th, which is right after my birthday, one day. Um, so we're both Aries.
Yay.
1965 in Los Angeles, he initially had no plans to pursue acting, but was inspired to explore the field after responding to a modeling agency ad. After studying the Meisner technique, you'll have to tell me what that is, and starting with commercials, he went on to build an impressive career. Pellegrino is best known for playing iconic roles such as Jacob on Lost, Lucifer on Supernatural, Bishop on Being Human, and Virgil Poe on American Rust. His television credits also include Dexter, Quantico, 13 Reasons Why, and The Tomorrow People. In film, he has appeared in films such as The Big Lebowski, National Treasure, and The Number 23. Let's welcome Mark Pellegrino. Hi, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Awesome.
How's this beautiful day in LA? How's it going for you?
So far, so good. It's a little hot out here. It's like in the high 80s or 90s, but I've been inside most of the time, which is what I like in artificial air conditioning, nice and cool. So it's been good. It's always sunny in California.
Absolutely. How have you been handling what's been happening in Los Angeles? We've had a lot going on here.
Oh, you mean with the riots and the protests and stuff
Yes.
going on there? Well, I mean, I'm very open about my politics, so I don't mind talking about that kind of stuff here today. As a capitalist, I am for open borders. That of course doesn't mean you let criminals and people with infectious diseases in, but anybody who wants to come here and peaceably work,
Right.
who wants to go from a worse place to a better place and improve their lives, I think it has a right to. That's what part of rights are. That's a right. And so I think that this latest explosion of executive power and rounding people up willy nilly to deport them and or to detain them in centers. At first, they were deporting them without due process. Thank God there was some people who realized that that was unconstitutional and started fighting against that. But now they're detaining them until they can get some kind of hearing, and then I guess they'll deport them later. But it's certainly creating an atmosphere of fear amongst people here who have come here from another country and who are working, productive human beings, tax-paying individuals who've never harmed another person and who add to our economy and who add to our culture, are afraid for their lives, and I don't blame them, to be honest with you. So, although I wouldn't go as far as rioting, and I wouldn't do what the Antifa morons do, I think this kinds of thing, provided we have a free press, the best way to redress your grievances against the government is to sue them and to take them to court and to make it legal, to make it impossible for the executive to overreach his powers. And there are people who are doing that presently. I'm not necessarily on their side. In fact, I think they do it for the wrong reasons. I think they're doing it for political reasons, more than principled reasons. But we happen to be in agreement, so I'll take that. But the violence has to stop. You can't have people throwing bricks at other people or lighting firecrackers at them or shooting at. There was even I saw a film of somebody shooting at these ICE officers. That will not do. It's not time for that kind of stuff. So.
No.
Peaceably assemble, but peaceably protest and redress your grievances, but don't violate other people's rights while doing it.
Absolutely. And don't you think, Mark, also that people out there, some people are just waiting for an opportunity so they can jump in and just cause chaos because they're just waiting for an opportunity?
Oh yeah, these groups like Antifa, the American Communist Party, these guys love to exploit chaos. Not because it's not even like they're on the side of good. What they're trying to do is break the system that is.
Right.
In some respects, the system does need to be broken down, but not in the way that they want it to, and that needs to be replaced with something that not that they want to replace it with. So they exploit chaos just to create more chaos and more violence, and these people need to be arrested and thrown in jail too. I mean, those people need to be in jail more than the immigrants who are working in the fields and in the
Absolutely.
hotels and in normal jobs trying to feed their families. Those people don't deserve to be in jail. They don't deserve
No,
to be deported.
no, no.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, I mean, it's ever since January, Mark, everything seems to be out of whack. We had the fires first, and that felt literally like the pandemic all over again.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fires seem to be a persistent problem with California, and that is also a problem with California governance, California government's incompetence. I mean, they'll
Hmm.
spend billions of dollars on a light speed rail that they haven't even begun building yet, but water retention facilities are empty, reservoirs haven't been updated since the early 20th century. We have no water capture capacity, we have no desalination plants available. They're
Hmm.
they're they're de-energizing us by putting us on quote unquote reliable and not reliable, renewable energy, which is unreliable and which causes blackouts and all kinds of grid overloads while simultaneously overloading the grid with electric vehicles. So they're working at cross purposes with each other and hurting the economy of the state. Well, yeah, I mean, the fourth biggest economy in the world, and they are literally people are literally leaving here by the hundreds of thousands, and they mismanage the forests, and this is what sparks these fires. In addition to publicly owned utilities that have their power lines above ground, when we have Santa Ana winds, which causes these problems as well. So whole communities have been burning down, and it feels like this has been a habit over the last 5 or 6 years. We've
Yep.
been seeing the same thing with no change because there's
Yeah.
no political will to change in California,
None. None.
unfortunately.
Absolutely none. Yeah.
I agree with you. Well, it's time. And if anybody's interested, I know this is not quite the topic, but I did start a political party called American Capitalist Party. And capitalism is not a bad word. It's actually a good word. I could explain that at some point later on. But you can
Yeah.
go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org. If you want a truly liberal party, a party that is actually about human thriving, then you should go visit that site, check it out. I'm sure you're going to like it. I'm sure bodily autonomy means something to you. I'm sure human sovereignty means something to you. And I'm sure you want to remain, if you live in California, in probably the most beautiful state in the world, and not be oppressed by these hypocrites in Sacramento who like to level rules down on our necks and
Oh
keep
yeah.
us enclosed in our houses while they go out to the French Laundry and enjoy $7,000 meals with friends unmasked.
Absolutely. And not to mention, Mark, that they are the ones that have gotten us into it, and they've driven the entire entertainment business out of California.
Insane, absolutely insane. That look that Hollywood no longer exists in Hollywood.
No, it doesn't. It's
I mean,
in
every
Atlanta, Georgia,
yes,
Vancouver,
yes,
Toronto,
yes.
London.
Yes, now London is huge. Now London is becoming a big place.
Hmm.
And the show that you mentioned, American Rust, was shot in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is another place that's growing up. Detroit was growing up there for a while. Las Vegas has some incentives. I think they're losing them now for film, but I did an independent series, an independently produced series out in Las Vegas. Everywhere but California.
I know.
It's
It,
ridiculous.
it's beyond. I mean, this is where everybody wanted to come to Hollywood, right? We don't exist anymore. It's a shell of what it used to be. It's nuts.
And it's expensive to live here. We have the most expensive
God,
energy
yeah.
in the country, the most expensive gas in the country. If you go to right, I think by the border of California and Nevada, there's the last gas station in California there. It's almost $8 a gallon
Yeah,
for that for
that-
gas there.
that's insane.
Right. And then you're somewhere else, anywhere else in the country, let's say Pittsburgh, it's 250, $3 a gallon.
Hmm. Hmm.
No Californian can relate to that gas.
No, no. I mean, we haven't been what 250 for what 10 years
Yeah,
at least.
feels like it.
Yeah,
I remember when I saw what was that movie? I Am Legend with Will Smith.
yeah.
There's a section in there where he's getting gas out of a gas station. You see the gas prices, they were like 5.60 a gallon. And at the time that that movie was made, I was like, "Oh my God, that's absolutely ridiculous." But this is what the prices that we see every day now.
Yep, yep. You're not wrong, Mark.
So much for a zombie apocalypse.
Well, let's not talk about that because during the pandemic, no kidding, Mark. I thought there was going to be aliens walking down our streets. It was so weird.
That was the worst. Look, the pandemic, it wasn't the disease that was bad. It was the political reaction to the disease that was
Yep.
bad. They destroyed our economy, and we're still trying to recover from it to this day. And not only that, they made a virtue out of obedience, like
Mhm.
and they shamed people, and some people deserve to be shamed because they didn't quite know how to fight for their rights, and and so they were, of course, expressing their quote unquote rights in really stupid mouth breathing ways. So you had these this dichotomy. On the one hand, you had these virtue signaling idiots who would wear masks alone while walking down the street or in their cars alone. And then you had these morons that would walk into supermarkets, private property, I might add, who have people who have the right to make the rules with respect to their business, and start flaunting the fact that they weren't going to wear a mask. Well, you don't have that right either. You're as dumb as the person who's completely paranoid about the virus, and we just it was just a completely irrational response. And once one or two political entities jumped on that, China way of dealing with the virus, everybody felt like they had to do it to appear like they were doing something, and it destroyed us. It
Yep.
absolutely destroyed us.
I agree. I agree. Well, getting back to wonderful topics, you were born in Los Angeles. You're a native, which there's not many of us left because everybody's left the state. What was your experience like growing up in Los Angeles? Like, how was it different than? I mean, I've heard a lot of different like growing up in on the East Coast versus the West Coast. What do you think the differences were?
Well, we didn't have bad weather, so we got sunshine all the time. So it's hard for us to relate to the kids who had to, shovel snow off of their porches every winter. We didn't have that. I mean, we had the occasional, rain, right? And we still had fires back then, and some of them were pretty
Sure,
serious,
sure.
not to the extent that we have them today. And we had smog. So the thing that we had that was the thing we had to watch out for were the smog warnings, the level smog warnings that where we had to stay inside. But aside from that, life in Van Nuys, where I grew up, was pretty carefree. I mean, I ran the whole summer barefoot in Van Nuys, if you can believe
Yep.
it. I rode my bike everywhere. I played football in the streets with my friends. We played hide and seek. We egged houses. We ran wild. We took the bus into Hollywood and went to the Capitol record sale in our teens, and we partied. My mom wasn't at home on the weekends when I was 15, 16 years old, so I bring all my friends over and we just have a sleepover and
Oh,
play and have fun till all hours of the night. Nothing terrible. Nothing not innocent, but sunshine. There was the beach was every weekend. We went to Zuma Beach and laid out and went into the water until I saw Jaws, which ruined my life.
oh no.
I wanted to be a marine biologist, and then realized I was too afraid to actually go into the water with these monsters.
Oh,
Later on, I got certified as a diver, but so I have gone in there. But at the time, I was terrified of great
yeah.
white sharks. And but I would go to the beach every week with my mom and lay out and listen to music. And I loved 70s music and 70s rock and roll and
Oh
disco.
yeah.
It was a time of disco and polyester pants and I don't know, POW bracelets and hippies, and it was a good time to grow up in the 70s. A little rough, but we got through it.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the 70s, do you remember we used to have to do our reports on typewriters?
Yeah. Yeah,
Regular
typewriters.
typewriters, right? And
Yeah.
people nowadays are like, "What?" You
Yeah.
know, I thought I was one Christmas I got a typewriter that had the little LED thing on the top so you could see what you were typing and then
Oh,
it would
wow.
type it.
You were sophisticated. I just had a little Smith Corona. I had a little Smith Corona typewriter. Can you
Oh
believe
my
that?
God.
Yeah.
Smith Corona. I remember
Yeah.
it and they were so heavy.
And then after that, I got a brother word processor that my mom had. So then I would type everything out on that and then print it out. And then, we've evolved from there, of course.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's nuts. And our cell phones. Did you have the brick like I did?
I inherited a brick from my mom after she passed. She had a sort of brick that I had in my car as a cell phone, but not that brick, not the big brick that you saw like in 10. You remember 10 with Dudley Moore?
Yes.
He was rich, there was rich people that had the big brick. I couldn't afford that. I was a poor little valley boy. My mom couldn't afford that kind of stuff. But she did get a cell phone in the early 90s, right? So she
Yeah,
she got a cell phone somewhere around right around the time that most people would get them, but they weren't quite popular yet,
right.
as they weren't ubiquitous.
Well, I mean the brick as in the Motorola. Remember that had
Yeah,
the
the big thing
antenna?
with the antenna on it
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah. No, I remember it, but I wasn't you might have been maybe you were a little more well off than me, but I never owned one. I saw them on TV and I saw them like in the movies, but I never had one.
Yeah, I had it. I had one like when I was in my 20s.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was in my 20s, I was working for a department store, so I was able to, yeah, I got one when I was in my 20s. So it was awesome, but man, like now what we have, like it's a credit card.
It's a credit card, it's a supercomputer, it's everything. It has your entire life on there. And now it's an artificial intelligence, so it can actually be a companion
Oh yeah.
if
Oh
you want
yeah.
it to
I'm
be.
I'm waiting for, AI dates.
This is happening. I think this is happening now. There's a whole generation of people, I don't know if it's millennials or Gen Xers, not Gen Zers, or whoever the new generation is that are saying that they would actually date an AI.
Oh, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's is it Gen Z? We're Gen X, right?
We're Gen X.
Yeah, we're
We're
Gen X.
I'm boomer adjacent. I mean, 65 is right up against the boomer generation, but it's Gen X.
Right. Well, I'm in the 50s, so I'm close to there. Um, but is there anything, Mark, that you miss about that time that we don't have now that you wish your children had?
Yeah, it's there's you learned to play outside. You
Hmm.
did a lot of stuff outside. You were very rarely in the house when you were a kid. And your parents understood that. You say, I'm going out right now. I'm going to go down the street to my friend's house. And you played ball. You played football, you played baseball, you played tag, you played outside, you played cowboys and Indians, hide and go seek. You just did a lot of stuff. You climbed trees. You did stupid things like climb up on the roof of your house and jump off. You were a physical being. You were on your
Hmm.
bike all the time. You rode your bike everywhere, and that I think does something to your body. It creates mind body connections that I think kids don't have today because they're simply just not physically active anymore. I think one of the reasons that there's such low testosterone in today's males is because they're just not stressing their bodies the way we did
Right.
as kids growing up. It was a foregone conclusion that I would be down the street at the field where all the other guys were riding the bikes and jumping the jumps and trying to ride wheelies. And, sometimes we'd be fighting each other and wrestling. It was every time, 90% of your time was spent outside if you weren't at school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember we used to walk to school, walk
I
home
walked
from
to
school,
school, walked
walk
home
to walked home.
at
Um,
7,
yeah,
6.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you would go and play until you had to come in for dinner. And it was all in the front yard. You can't do that anymore because people pick up kids like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know that there were any more serial killers or child molesters out there in now than there were in the 70s. I think we're certainly more aware of it, and it makes things much more scary for parents, because the news is always in our face and the information is so immediate. So perhaps ignorance was bliss for our parents, but I never experienced any issues, and I think I'm better for also being able to resolve conflicts more effectively,
Oh yeah.
because you had to resolve conflict. No parent stepped in between you and the fight with the bully. No teacher stepped in. I remember, getting beat up and having a bloody nose, and it seemed like nobody gave a shit. And that sucked. But it also made me anti-fragile, right? It made
Yep.
me realize that, oh shit, I got to sort of look out for myself. And sometimes I gave people bloody noses too. But in the end, we wound up, resolving our conflicts in some way, and I think being better for the fact that we actually either fought or resolved the conflicts. And now we have risk averse, conflict avoidant people who
Yeah.
who are emotionally totally fragile. Like, they can't handle any kind of information or
No.
any kind of conflict, and
No.
they can't communicate as a result. And you're forced to communicate when you're out there on the playground with lots of kids and you're engaging in
Mm-hmm.
competitive games with each other, which they're no longer allowed to do. It's okay to lose. You learn a
Yeah.
lot by losing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think that also we've gotten way too sensitive about everything.
Yeah.
You can't say anything. Oh, you might offend that person, or you might offend that person, or you can't do anything because that might be something they don't like. And when did that become a situation? I don't understand it.
I think it's just another way of controlling people, getting on the victim bandwagon and using it as leverage over other people. I really don't like people who don't have a sense of humor about themselves. If you can't laugh at yourself, man, there's something wrong with you.
I I completely agree, Mark. I
Yeah. So
completely agree. So tell me, so you didn't necessarily want to like be an actor. You just saw a modeling agency ad and you just went for it?
yeah, I didn't want to be an actor. I wanted to be a marine biologist. Then I got to college and didn't think biology was actually something that interested me. I was more interested in history and psychology. Then, after your first year in college, you lose all the privileges of a freshman. The privileges of a freshman after freshman orientation are you get to the front of the line of 35,000 people and you get all the classes you want. Then, after that, you go to the back of the line and you have to get whatever is there. And the classes that were available were classes that I just didn't want to take classes to fill up units. And I fell in love with this crazy girl, and the crazy girl was more interested than the classes than the class. I actually had one class that I was able to get, and I just decided to drop out of college. And so I was working at a gas station, going out with this crazy person, sort of spinning my wheels, and realizing that, wow, I'm 19 years old, going on 20. I'm considered an adult by most people's standards, at least by society standards. I have no real direction, and I should start thinking about what I want to do. And it was at that time, I think I was walking through a mall and I saw this advertisement for this very cheesy modeling school called John Robert Powers. I don't think they exist anywhere now except in like Chicago.
I remember them.
They were a total scam.
Yep.
But I said, well, what, model? I don't think I'm a model, but let me just give it a shot. And, I think I did one catalog on a runway show at Topanga Mall for them, but they had a commercial workshop class for free, and they couldn't get a better price than that. So I took the commercial workshop class. That guy thought I had talent for some reason. I don't know why, because I couldn't tell good from bad. Whenever I did something that was good, it seemed just like when I did something bad. So I couldn't tell the difference. But he set me up with an agent, and that agent ended up setting me up with a theater company, which was actually a list of theater
Mhm.
companies. I chose the cheapest and the closest, and it happened to be, I think, one of the best theater companies on the West Coast called Playhouse West. And that's where I started to develop a love for the craft and started really intensely studying acting. And then the curriculum for Playhouse West is probably better than any college curriculum for theater. The reading list is extent, and is not just about theater history, but incorporates philosophy and history. And it's about a 50 page reading list.
Wow.
And then, once I started working, I worked before I learned before I knew about acting. And then I started trying to incorporate what I was learning in the acting class into the real world situation, which is a whole other learning curve. Some people do it quickly. Some people take a long time. I happen to take a long time. Uh, and then I started teaching and teaching. I started teaching in the late 90s and doing plays at the theater company. And then my wife and I formed a Shakespeare theater company there.
Oh my
Did a
gosh.
couple of Shakespeare plays there, sort of in the spirit of the Moscow Art Theater, with lots and lots of rehearsal. And then we'd put it up for a time and then just let it go. And then I got asked to teach in Paris at the Paris Film School, and I agreed to do it provided I was teaching with my wife. And she has remained teaching in Paris. We A student from there started a school, and started their curriculum, and then she started her own school. And I go back and forth whenever I'm not working. I go to Paris and teach there. And if I'm not working in the fall and in the spring, and I often am, so I have to squeeze going over there and teaching. Last year, she wrote a movie. She's a very good writer. She wrote and directed a movie, and I'm part of it. It's ensemble sort of cast. It's a mockumentary, and she's just finishing post on it now. We shot it all in Paris, and with many of our students from the school, and I think it's going to be a good little funny picture. So
Oh, incredible.
yeah, so there it is. That's along the short of it. I mean, I'm missing all the jobs that I did, but that's how I got into acting. Sort of accidentally swerved into it, and then really started to like it as time went on.
It's always fascinating to me to ask that question because it's always interesting to see where the inspiration came from, how somebody became an actor, what was it that drew them there?
Yeah, I mean, I know guys. I have a friend who's 80 years old who's wanted to be an actor since he was 6, and that was not me. I was not a cinephile. I watched movies on the weekends because my parents had to take, they had to go on dates, and then they took me with them, and I was in the back seat of the car while we were watching, at the drive-in. But I wasn't particularly fascinated by film. And so it was the last thing on my mind that I thought I would ever want to do, but yet here I am doing it, and I love it.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Well, we're so happy you do what you
Thank
do.
you.
Fans obviously, let's get into your career now. Fans will obviously remember you from your unforgettable portrayal of Jacob on the Emmy and Golden Globe award winning series Lost by, of course, J.J. Abrams, that also garnered you a nomination for a Saturn Award for
Yeah.
Best Guest Performance in a Television Series and an International Online Cinema Award. What was it in the script, Mark, that drew you to this character of Jacob?
I'll tell you what, my wife.
Oh,
So that's going to sound weird. Okay, so this happens in a context. You have to hear the context. So I got this audition for Lost, and I had 4 auditions that day. And the audition for Lost, first of all, the sides that they produce for Lost auditions are not the actual characters. It was all done in secret, so you don't know exactly what you're auditioning for because people want spoiler alerts. That's stupid. I don't know why people do that. Why do you want to spoil a freaking show that you've been spending all your time watching?
No.
But nonetheless, people do that. So I got this audition. It was 7 pages long. It was a lot of material. I said to my wife, I just don't think I can do. I have 4 auditions. I don't think I can actually fit this in, and I don't want to, go in there and screw it up. And she looked at me and she said, Mark, you better go in there and do this audition. It's the biggest show on television. Don't be a douchebag. I don't think she used. I don't think she used the term douchebag. That's just my own addition. So I sucked it up. I went in. I did this audition. It was super fun, of course, because I didn't expect it to be. So it was fun. And I didn't hear anything for about 3 weeks, and then I heard I got the job, and I didn't even know what the part was. And my wife had been watching the show, and she goes, "Ooh, I have a feeling I know who you are," because my wife knows the answers at the back of every freaking book. Okay, she's the person who watches. She's the person who watches The Sixth Sense and knows that the guy's dead from the beginning. Sorry, spoiler alert if you have not seen Sixth Sense. She knows it within 5 minutes, and she's likely to tell me.
Oh
Um,
no.
so she's like, I know who you're going to be. I'm like, who am I going to be? She's like, I think you're going to be this character, Jacob, that was introduced in season 3. Is a really mysterious character. And I think that's who you're going to be. I'm like, yeah, really? I don't know. I mean, the side said Jerry or something like that. And so I got on the set. I think I had to do a fitting, but they introduced me to some of the cast. The first cast member I met was Michael Emerson, who's sort of a scholar of the show, to be honest with you. He knows more about the show than I think even Carlton Cuse or J.J. Abrams know about the show. Um, but he came up to me, he's like, hi. And I'm like, hey, how are you? And he's like, so you're our Jacob. I'm like, that's when I discovered I was going to be Jacob. And I got to tell you, I was happy that I didn't know that I was going to be Jacob, because if I knew that I was the dude upon which the entire plot of the island, rested on my shoulders, I would probably have been very nervous.
Right.
But I wasn't. I got to work with a buddy of mine, Titus Welliver, who we'd worked on films together before, and he's a great guy, and I just loved working with him. He was the Man in Black for anybody who doesn't know who Titus Welliver is. He also plays Bosch on the Prime series and a
Yes.
number of other things. Super super good actor, super good guy. And I just had a good time working with him. I had a good time. I got to work with the whole cast. To be actually at some point or another, I was working with every single character in the show. One time speaking an entire scene in Korean, which did terrify me. I had to speak Russian. I had to speak Korean. But it was fun. It was really, really fun, and totally accidental that I went in there, because had my wife not told me to go in there, I might have taken the easy road out and not done that part. But that part was sort of life changing, even though I think Dexter was happened before. I think Dexter happened before Lost, and I think that started a bit of a shift, because the character of Paul, even though he was an asshole and quote unquote a bad guy, he was a complicated character, and so that started shifting, I think, people's perceptions about me in the business. Oh, he's not just a bad guy, or he's not just this. There's other colors that he can play, and I think Dexter and Lost were very responsible for changing the course of my acting life.
That's amazing. And obviously you played it with brilliance. I mean, and for you to get a nomination for just what was it, 13 episodes or something? That's incredible, Mark.
Thank you.
I mean, you're an incredible actor, though. I mean, you take the roles and you make them your own, and you just do an incredible job with them.
Thank you. I enjoy it. There are
I,
there, there are worse jobs to have.
okay, so Supernatural. I know the Supernatural fans will recognize you as Lucifer, which was a huge hit. and you received a nomination for a Teen Choice Award for Best Villain, TV Villain.
I couldn't believe
But
that.
yeah, I can. But interesting tidbit, I did not know you were a high contender for Castile that finally went to Misha
You know
Collins.
that's what Eric Kripke says.
Yes.
I have no memory of being a contender for Castiel though. But I have to trust Eric Kripke because he's really smart, and I have, my memory is, I memorize a script, and then when I'm done with it, I completely forget it. Literally, completely forget it. And I'm
Wow.
a writer too, so I shouldn't be that way. You'd think my memory would be far better. So I trust that Kripke was right, that somehow I was in contention for this Castiel thing. I don't remember reading for it. I don't know if I was just in the mix, as in they were talking about me, because I didn't read for Lucifer either. I was just offered the part of Lucifer.
Right.
So whether I went in there and read for Castiel or not, I have no memory of that. And I can't really imagine it any other way. Now that you've seen the character for so many years as Misha Collins, it's super hard to, to say, well, what would I do that would be different? Because he had an innocence to him, and I don't remember the audition if I brought that childlike innocence to it. You know,
See, I could see that you would be a good one.
yeah.
I
Oh,
know that
thank you,
they
thank you.
probably brought you, I know they brought you back as Lucifer because they remembered you
And
from that.
Lucifer, especially in the later episodes, has a childlike innocence to him. And I thought of Lucifer as a kid, as the episodes went on. After he possesses Sam and gets inside Sam's head, he's like more impish than he is a devil, than he is Satan, and more of a kid than he is the Prince of Darkness. So I enjoyed playing those colors, because you have total freedom when you're an innocent kid to do pretty much anything you want.
Well, that's true. How was it being part of the supernatural phenomenon? I mean, that was like, it was huge.
Well, it's the gift that keeps on giving too, because I mean, it's been what, 6 years or so since the end of the show, and they're just
Yeah.
they're still talking about maybe bringing back a 16th season or a movie. And the boys go back and forth about whether or not they're going to do it, but they're certainly teasing the fact that that's a possibility. And that there's an extensive convention circuit that revolves around supernatural, and just sci-fi horror conventions in general. Any Comic-Con out there, you're a commodity because you were in probably one of the longest running and hottest horror sci-fi shows on television. So that it's certainly a plus. So it's a gift that keeps on giving, and it was only supposed to be one season, right? I was supposed to be Lucifer was supposed to be the killer of season 5, and he brings on the apocalypse, and then it's over for everyone. But CW saw it differently and extended it for 10 more years.
Thank, thank God, right?
Thank Dad. Yes, I'm glad
Yeah,
they did that.
yeah. um, Now, can you share with us now, because you played Lucifer, and I've heard, stories about, obviously if you're aware of demonic stuff, did anything ever happen as a result, or did anything ever happen on the set that was kind of eerie
No.
playing that character? No.
No, they say that stuff about The Exorcists. They say like people died, sets burned down. Do you have any horrible things happen to you because you're Lucifer? And my thought is, well, why? Why would something bad happen to me when I'm part of the story? If not for me, there would be no Jesus, no necessity for Jesus. There would be no necessity for the saving grace of God. Lucifer is a part of the story of the redemption of mankind. So
That's
even if I'm playing that part, I'm playing a part you have to remember the whole context. And the whole context is about human redemption, right? And a relationship, a human relationship with God. So even though I'm an atheist and don't believe in that stuff, I do think that I'm the black hat, but I define the white hat. I bring out the heroism in every character in the New Testament. So I consider myself a necessary element to the telling of the story. So why would God want to punish me for that?
And that's an interesting take on that. That's
And when
really,
you think about The Exorcist, what
yeah,
was The Exorcist about? The Exorcist was about a man who had become cynical and lost his faith.
that's
And
true.
right? And he thought for so long. I mean, I don't know how you could look at Reagan when she was possessed and think she was just simply psychotic. She had yellow eyes, for crying out loud. Psychotic people's eyes don't suddenly change. She's, opening things, opening drawers telepathically. She's speaking in other languages. I mean, he
Right,
was finding excuses to not believe the phenomenon that was in front of him. And in the end, when he says, "Come into me," and he sacrifices himself,
right.
but he sacrifices himself, jumps out the window. Sorry, another spoiler alert. If you have not seen The
The
Exorcist, I'm full of
Exorcist.
spoiler alerts. But that expression, "come into me," was an act of faith. He got his faith back.
Yeah,
So to me, it's like, why would people be talking about this tragedy when the whole movie is about science versus faith, and faith wins?
and faith wins. Yeah. No, you're
Come
right.
on, man.
Yeah,
Get it
but
together, folks.
yeah, I think Mark, I think that you have touched on something that people that watch movies sometimes don't have the same. They're not really getting the actual plot of things and
Yeah.
what it's really about or what it really is in the background, if that makes sense.
Yeah, guys, for anybody who doesn't know, The Exorcist is not about demonic possession. It's about a guy regaining his faith.
Faith.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, yeah,
It's about science versus faith. That's what it's about. The girl is a backdrop.
yeah. She's kind of like, well, she's the necessary evil for him to be able to regain his faith.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
she's a catalyst.
catalyst.
She
That's right.
starts it in motion.
That's right.
Without her, he wouldn't meet Merrick, and Merrick is the holy man who's, the super holy man, Superman of faith, and he wouldn't have changed.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
movie. Great movie. And you know
Oh
what?
yeah.
Kids laugh at it today. They
Oh
laugh at the movie.
well, yeah. I mean, have you seen? I mean, I just saw Star Wars the other day, and it'll always be my favorite. But I can see, you show it to somebody now, and they're like, "What?
It doesn't
Really?
age well. Yeah, it doesn't
No,
age
it
well.
doesn't."
No. Well, back then they did matte paintings, for the backgrounds, and
Oh,
now,
that's
yeah,
right.
so it looks like matte paintings, and it doesn't fly with people who see CGI, and now
Yep.
that CGI is informed by artificial intelligence, it's like it's becoming better and better and better and
Oh
harder to
yeah.
tell the difference between what's real and what isn't. So I don't blame them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you have any funny stories when you were filming on Supernatural? You have any funny stories, any pranks or anything like
Nobody
that?
played pranks on me.
Oh,
No,
really?
no. I mean, I hear it's because the boys were scared of me.
What?
Yeah, they said they were scared of me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I used to box. I used to box, and I do all that stuff. But they're very athletic and they're a lot stronger than me. So I don't think that's the reason they didn't play pranks on me. I think they just didn't like me. No, I I had just a more serious relationship with them.
Yeah,
Like me and Jared would talk all the time off
camera.
screen. Yeah, and we would talk about like philosophy and economics and stuff that I really like to talk about that usually clears out rooms. But that's the kind of stuff I like to talk about. But he's a super smart guy, and he sort of likes to talk about it too. So I think they took me as a more serious guy. But I mean, I have one tale that I always tell, and I sort of beat it to death, but I might as well say it here. There was a time when he was about 240 pounds, and he was a big strap, not in a bad way. He was huge, like muscular guy.
Oh, wow.
And he's in shape, but he's thin now. He's live.
Right.
But at the time, he was lifting weights for size. So he was about 40 pounds heavier. And I think that meant that he had a significant protein intake or some enzyme intake, in order to help those muscles get all big and, lumpy the way he liked them. Unfortunately, it messed with his digestive system, which meant lots of gas. And so he was not embarrassed about farting in front of anybody. Now, at that point in my life, I was highly embarrassed about that kind of thing. Like if I farted in front of anybody publicly, it would freak me out. But he did it freely, freely. Now, by the time I'd come on the set, granted, he's been with the same people for 5 years, so maybe it didn't start out that way, it just developed that way. But anyway, so I'm doing the scene with both he and Jensen, and it's a scene where I'm explaining everything, about what's going to happen. Long, long, long speech. They say action, they're rolling the cameras, and he farts before I start my scene. And they didn't cut. So I did an entire monologue in his fart cloud. And I remember being sort of traumatized by it, to be honest. But that's my funny story of Supernatural is doing a scene in Jared's fart cloud. So,
Oh, that is hysterical.
but I
Oh
know
my
they
God.
I know they used to joke with Misha, like they did all kinds of pranks on Misha, and they did all kinds of pranks on Alex, who played my son in the later seasons. Spoiler alert for anybody. They did a lot of pranks on him. They used to fuck with him all the time when off camera. I don't see how he was able to take it, but for some reason they just didn't get that. I don't think they got the fuck around vibe from me.
Ah, got it. Yeah,
And I'm
you
a playful dude. I'm a playful guy,
yeah.
but nobody wanted to play with me.
Well, and you having those conversations with Jared though, probably like he probably told Jensen, this guy is very like smart and don't fuck with him.
I wonder what conversations those two guys had.
Do you stay in touch with them at all?
Yeah, and we have a thread, a supernatural thread, not tweet, text thread. So we're talking to each other all the time. So we see each other at cons all the time too, but we're always talking to each other. It's always somebody's birthday. It's always somebody celebrating something or doing something fucked up that we can bust their balls about. So and everybody's on it. I mean,
That's
it's
cool.
it's Brianna, it's Kim, it's Timothy, it's Jared, it's Jensen, it's Misha, it's me, it's Mark, it's Adam Fergus, it's everybody. Everybody's on it.
Is
Ru-
Eric Kripke on it?
Eric is not on it,
Interesting.
but he's probably too busy executive producing 50 shows. I
Oh,
mean, the
yeah, I was
guy
gonna
is
say.
guy's got things to do. Plus, he tragically his house burned down in Pacific Palisades.
No.
Yeah, he was one of the ones whose houses burned down, but
Oh,
trooper that he is, he's carrying on and moving on and doing his thing. I mean, he's got shows to produce. That guy, I don't know of a career similar to his. Maybe you know more about cinema and TV than I do, but I mean, Supernatural was the first show he ever wrote.
oh my God.
Yeah, hello. So the first show he ever writes becomes the biggest show on the CW.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so then it's just been uphill. I mean, uphill? Yeah, uphill from there.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
been a steady rise. And for me, like The Boys is an amazing show. I would love to be on that show. But Eric,
Yeah.
if you watch this, Eric,
Yeah, I'll include him. Make sure he watches it too. Okay, so tell me about American Rust. It's on Amazon Prime, which is a totally different, it's a streaming platform now. If people don't know about this show, what can you tell us, and what can you tell us about your character, Virgil?
well, so it was originally a best-selling novel called American Rust. And in the novel, Virgil, I think, is mentioned in one line of the entire book because he's an absentee father, basically. So the show itself is about a Rust Belt town called Buell, Pennsylvania, where life has gone on elsewhere, and there's some people frozen in time there, trying to live a life as best they can, but of course, life is conspiring against them. And so the first season was very faithful to the book, and the first season was written by Dan Federman, who wrote Capote. Also, a very good actor in his own right, but wrote Capote, a movie that I was in with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Catherine
Yeah.
Keener. Great movie, great writer. Um, and so the first season we got into Virgil Poe was he's an absentee father. He's a guy, he's the village Lothario, right? He can't be faithful to his wife. He got such deep character issues that he can't be faithful to his wife. He can't really have a relationship with his son. He can't be tied down. He's one of those types of guys, a Peter Pan, a guy who can't grow up. And but through the course of the first season, you see Billy gets into some pretty interesting messes. Everybody's in a mess, basically,
Yeah.
in the first season, and that was originally, that first season was originally done at Showtime. Then Showtime, I think, dropped us, and we were picked up by Prime. And then we did a season two, which I thought had a lot more action, a lot more interesting subplots. We got a new wardrobe person on it, so I could actually dress the way I thought Virgil should dress. The wardrobe person was like, "I think Virgil's a peacock on a budget," and I'm like, "Thank you. That's exactly what I think Virgil is." And that's the way I wanted to dress, like a guy who was in a garage band who's still sort of reliving the high school days, and
Got
is
it.
well beyond his time. I don't know if you know the Leonard Melfi. There's a Leonard Melfi play called Lunchtime, where a guy, he's like a repairman. He's long past his prime, but you could tell he was a star in high school. But now he's just a guy who does maintenance work. But he gets off by banging all the women at the houses that he goes to make repairs of when their husbands are away at work. He bangs all the women, and that's how he sort of gets his self-esteem. And I felt like, that's sort of the Virgil. That's Virgil was that guy, lost in high school sort of guy, who never grew up. But in season two, he sort of grows up. He grows up and tries to become a real asset to his son, because of what happens to his son at the end of season one and at the beginning of season two. I don't want to break any spoilers, but look, if you don't think anything happens in a small town, you are fucking wrong. All you got to do is watch American Rust, and you'll see Buell is one of the most exciting towns on the face of the earth. Lots of shit happens. People die, and not, I mean, it's crazy.
Oh,
Watch that show. I thought it was going to get picked up for a third season because the second season was so damn good, and Jeff Daniels is so good, and Moira Tierney, they're such good actors.
I know.
But I think Fallout happened. This is my own opinion. I think Prime got Fallout, and Fallout brings with it this whole crew of gamers, and the first season was so good, and of course Walton was great in it, and then it just got approved for it got approved for season three even before they're done with season two. So I mean, that show is rocking, and I think Prime is probably putting a lot of their energy into that.
Into that. Yeah.
And so our more subtle crime family show got pushed to the side, even though it's fantastic, and it ended on a cliffhanger and needs to have a season three.
So everybody listening needs to tell them to have American Rust renewed
Yes, just
and
watch it. You'll
done.
see. Yes, watch it. Watch it.
Um, okay, so what would you say, Mark, was a lesson that you learned early on that you've been able to carry through your entire career?
Oh wow. I mean, I think I'm constantly learning lessons, and the lesson that it's like you learn a lesson more than once. You learn a lesson until you're done learning it, right? And I feel like the lesson that I keep learning over and over again is to not compare myself to others. That my walk, my career, my path is entirely my own, and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be good. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be successful. I don't have to measure myself by any other standard but my own standard. And that's taken me a long, 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 long time to come to that realization. And part of it is just getting older. I think you start to understand values more when you get older. And part of
Sure.
it is from me just being an intense reader, an intense studier of things like philosophy, and always in self-improvement mode, which I blame on my acting mentor, who essentially, gave put into my head that acting is a craft and you have to work at it all the time in order to be good at it. But along with that, working at acting as a craft comes sort of accidentally on purpose a sort of self-improvement regimen, right? Because you're constantly looking inward. You're not only because you're deal of what you're dealing with out there in the acting world, but trying to fulfill parts makes you think about dimensions of your personality, and in a way, when you bring these things out and become aware of them, it becomes a bit of a therapeutic
Sure.
process whereby you start to learn more about yourself, just and start to come together, integrate more as a human being, right? Pull together all the pieces.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think basically learning not to give a fuck about what other people think. You get really hung up about what other people think. It not only kills your art and your authenticity, it kills your self-esteem. It makes you filled with anxiety and fear all the time. And there's really nothing to fear. Really nothing.
I love that. I love that lesson because if you knew that in the beginning and you just kept taking it with you, that must have given you some like acting like freedom.
Well,
Don't
sometimes I've done stuff that I can't even believe I did. Like I was so courageous, and other times I didn't stick up for myself, and it shows. Uh, and that, but more and more and more and more, when you become sort of when you're actualizing as a human being, when you're realizing your potential and your limits, you just start to know what your conditions are, and you start to understand that, well, okay, you can do things your way and not get what you want, or you can actually be sensitive to my conditions and get what you want. Like, I'm a participant in this process too. And I used to make myself, I'm always a team player, but I used to put myself last, and that's not necessarily the way it should go. And it's not necessarily the way I see really good actors work anyway. They understand that their process is important and it needs to
yes.
be respected.
Oh, I love that. Do you have any projects that you have coming up that you can share with us?
I just finished Murdoch
Ooh.
for Hulu. Yeah,
Oh.
so I don't know. People might know the Murdoch murders that took place in Hampton, South Carolina. They've done like 3 documentaries on them. They did a Lifetime movie with Bill Pullman about it, and now Hulu has done it. And it's a great cast of people. I think I play Cousin Eddie, who you only see in one documentary. I think you only see him in the HBO documentary, but he's a very interesting character. And I think the show is going to be very dynamic and very dramatic. The writers were obsessed with the case and all of the insanity that case brought out. I mean, there's lots of mysteries that are associated with this case. So many possibilities,
Oh,
and they
wow.
explore them all. And the acting, I think, is just tremendous. And I think people are going to like it. I'm not sure when it's coming out though. And I also did this little thing called A Motel, which is it was an independently produced series. And some of the producers who put money into it were acting, and they weren't necessarily actors, but there's that, but there was also super fun to do. Although we had to do it like really fast. Like, I had to go to Boulder City, Nevada, right outside of Las Vegas, and there were times when I shot 40 pages a day. Literally, they would put a camera
Oh,
set up, 2 camera setups, and then they would have me change clothes, and I would be doing scenes from different episodes I've never done, nobody ever does a 40-page day. You do
No,
a a major motion picture film, you're doing a page and a half a day, maybe
right.
two. A regular television show, you're doing 5 or 6 days. That's a pretty heavy day. Occasionally, you'll get the crazy 10-page day, which is nuts, usually on like a finale or something where you just have to finish that. Never, ever, ever has there ever been a 40-page day before, but I did it and I got through it. The problem is you just don't have a lot of coverage you can do with stuff like that.
Right.
So even though the coverage is limited and it sort of looks the same, the acting is good. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. They're also trying to sell it as a feature, so they're cutting it down. How you cut 6 episodes into an hour and a half long movie,
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't know, but they're doing it.
Okay. All right. So we'll be on the lookout for that. American Rust, of course. And you're going to be on the boy.
I also worked with Jennifer Garner recently on the last thing he said to me, which is the show that she's doing right now. So I think it was the this yeah, that should be coming out soon. I don't think that they've I know they've finished production right now, but that'll be coming out soon. A
Okay.
couple episodes of that. She was
Oh,
great. She was great to work with. I loved working with her.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, I am sending it out. You're going to be on the boys because Jensen's on the boys, and I just have a feeling they're gonna want you too.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would say something, but I'm under NDA, so I can't. So I'm not going to say anything. But I'm
Never know.
I'm just putting that seed out there.
You got it. You
Okay,
got it.
there's a seed.
I love it, and I'm all for it. Where can they find you? Where can everybody find you on social media?
So if you want nice dog pictures and jujitsu, I think you should go to Mark Ross Pelly on my Instagram. That's totally benevolent. But if you're into contentiousness and insanity, then you can go to Mark R. Pellegrino on X. I guarantee you it's a ride, but you got to be prepared for the ride. Now, I'm taking a little bit of time off because I tend to get in massive arguments with people. I, and depending on the person, sort of the tenor of the person I'm arguing with determines the tenor of the argument. So if they're, and this is not, I'm not saying this is wise. It's very unwise. But so if they get sort of nasty, I get very sarcastic and snarky and start fucking with them, and it can become unpleasant. But it can be entertaining for some who like that kind of thing. But there is also very intelligent talk going on there too, very serious talk about politics and about philosophy, about ethics, especially since I think it's so important. So if you want something like that, go there. I also have a Patreon that we're going to be starting to do. I started a show on the intersection of psychology and philosophy, which I think was really important for people. It was super important for my growth, and I'm going to be restarting that again after my wife goes back to Paris. So probably at the end of August, the beginning of September. And I'm also going to be starting a horror club on my Patreon. So I'll be doing horror reviews. I'll write horror reviews, and then like maybe once a month we'll have a group of us will get together on Zoom and we'll watch a horror movie together and talk about it. And I plan on trying to do that at some of the cons too, because I'm a horror movie buff.
I
And
love it.
yeah, me too. Me love horror movies. So there's that going on Patreon as well, and I do a podcast every day called Capitalist Corner. We have a great time doing it. We talk about current events from a liberty perspective, from a rights perspective, and I guarantee you're going to hear stuff there that will make you think, and a lot of dirty silly stuff too, because we have fun doing the show. So it's not all just serious politics and stuff. So it's fun. Give it a watch. I think you'll like it. It's on YouTube.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was so great to talk to you, and thank you
Thank you.
for spending this time with us.
Thank you. Likewise. I appreciate you.
No problem. Bye bye, Mark.
Bye bye.